After 3 days of silence and suspense, GSC has finally taken it upon themselves to respond in the form of their community manager on Discord. Why did you DMCA Misery? Somebody asks. Hey, Misery was using assets and music from the original Stalker trilogy, thus crossing the line of being merely inspired by the world we had created. We had no objections, and never will, to it being sold on Steam as long as the devs remove those specific assets from the game files. If they had read our guidelines for content creators, this issue wouldn't have existed. Thanks. But it doesn't end there. Even so far as 19 hours ago, they're still being, well, difficult. Why don't you just change the things GSC asked to change and be done with it? Because they did not specify exactly what they are concerned about. You have the full message in the post. This comes from the developer, the publisher, 19 hours ago. Here we go. This is a very interesting point. First of all, patches do not affect the DMCA, as they are tied to the version of a game available in the store at the time of said claim, so it's impossible to hide something after the fact. Then, when you see, okay, he's just, okay. The original guy said, yeah, now you're releasing patches to the game without patch notes on what you're actually changing, which is a suspicious thing to do under normal circumstances. Yeah, they're trying to find everything they can to remove it. People need to trust that your software will not harm their machine, and a simple and basic step towards that is stating what you changed when you change the software. Oh man, that is so true. I'm sorry for laughing, but it is very true. I can't believe they can't just take 5 minutes and throw something together here. Vesting Bead is one of the moderators of the Discord, and, well, this is probably their just official stance. No reason to keep an Easter egg of a game where the studio wants you dead. So it's already become political, even from the staff, which are supposed to remain impartial. I guess they can't. And here we go. This is actually one of the mods from the Stalker Discord, and he said he's went so far as to archive this being put onto the forums because, well, it was already taken down once under the guise of being an advertisement. So he was actually talking about reporting it to the Steam community and seeing what happens there. Their official response is, stolen assets from Stalker never actually says what assets were stolen. Well, let's take a look here. Assets in music. I can understand that, well, assets might not be clear enough for you. However, music is pretty clear enough. Anyway, let's keep going. If they're talking about the Firelink music, I got bad news for them. They don't own it. They were permitted to use it, but the band disbanded. My understanding of copyright goes a little like this. For example, the Strugatsky brothers died a little bit after writing their book in the 70s. I know that Soviet laws are a little bit different. However, their stuff 50 years ago is still under copyright today, and it will be until 2060. So let's try to understand music here. Let's say that a band makes a song, okay? It is their song. They wrote the lyrics. They wrote the, the actual instrumentate, like the actual tabs and everything. And they put it together. Now, somebody else plays this song. It might be a cover. It might be the actual same recording and not even a cover. But nevertheless, somebody else is making money with this song. Now, the band might not care. However, the band needs to know about the money being made, who is making it, etc. However, he says the band disbanded, which is definitely true. However, the founding members are almost all still alive, okay? So, not to mention, this is also coming from the same guy who, upon receiving actual screenshots, said, well, we don't recognize this. This isn't proof. Never mind potentially asking for a source. Hey, where did you get this from? Could you find out more about this? Being more, I don't know, act like a community moderator, maybe? Something like that. When Kuro joins the Discord to try and share it, he gets banned almost instantly. with the moderator at that time saying he did multiple researches. One of the members of the Discord said, hold on, send me that video really quick if you still got it. I want to check something. And then he says, what video? I banned them like instantly. So they ask for proof. And while you're in the, well, process of sending them said proof, they ban you. This guy replies and says that there's a thread in general discussions, but guess what? It got removed for being an advertisement. I don't, you know. But then Shirley goes on to say, please don't even talk about this thing since we already have shit sorted. If I do see people spread misinfo, they're going to be muted. However, with the publisher saying that the claim is at one point in time and cannot be changed retroactively, you know, you can't hide things. I guess we'll have to see. Before this post got taken down, this is interesting. This could actually be pretty harming because of what the people have said. This guy in particular, Nomad, says, click the top link, recognize the track immediately. It's a note for no copy. When is this low developer going to stop this idiotic charade? I know he's only 19, but it's time for him to grow up. He's going to lose every penny he made when they sue him for the loss of earnings incurred by the review bombing that he encourages on Discord. The whole world knows what he has done. There is no denying it. I fully expect my post to be deleted and my accounts to be banned for speaking the truth here. This is probably about an hour ago at this point, not 58 minutes. However, the publisher is saying Misery did not use music files from GSC games. That is all we have to say for now. So Utopia comes back at the very end and says, oh, you can get a refund as you can with any other game. However, right before this, they ignore the actual part of this that says it's a literal exact copy, and they ignore that, okay? The only thing they say is, we explicitly asked players not to review bomb or attack GSC. We do not wish any harm to them. We want Missouri back. We asked our community to share their positions with GSC. So that is a way of stating it, okay? But we asked our community to share their positions. Well, it's your community. They should do it themselves if they feel strongly enough about the game. This is, of course, my opinion now. If you, as the game developer, publisher, okay, that's different because it's not even the developer, it's the publisher, is saying, well, hey guys, we know you love our game. Well, how about you go on over to the Stalker 2 reviews and maybe give them a piece of your mind. Okay, you are inciting your community. No matter if you're asking them, telling them, whatever, you are inciting your community to do this. You know what I mean? It's not a passive, oh, well, they took it upon themselves thing to do this, which they are, but they are now actively being, well, asked, influenced, told, basically, to do this. So it might get more illegal than it already has. Not to mention Misery making it to the top of the r/stalker Reddit with the parody quote, the game doesn't violate copyright laws, it's perfectly legal, and you are allowed to sell stuff that includes someone else's property as long as it falls under parody. Well, that doesn't look great. And of course, people have said that this actually, this is referring to Steel Ball Run race, whatever. And it's not actually about Misery. However, it's not about the game in this instance. It's not about the game, okay? It is not about Misery. It's not Misery doesn't violate. The point is, right after that, he goes on to say, it's perfectly legal, and you are allowed to sell stuff that includes someone else's property. And that doesn't matter what game you're talking about. If you're releasing a game and you say this, that is it, man. That is horrible. And it wasn't that long ago. So he obviously has still, okay, he still believes this type of stuff because we wouldn't be in this situation if he didn't, and it doesn't, at least to some degree. If he believes it falls under parody, then he believes to some extent that he could do this. Which might explain why they are being the way they are on the forums and their Discord, banning everyone who is saying almost anything about it. But maybe they're tired of hearing about it. Users in this comment section, they're saying, clearly using assets, take a look at trees, weapon posters, AK-74, wall textures, trucks, and so on. Now, I don't know about the trees, but we'll go take a look at those posters. To be honest, none of these really speak out to me. They are just generic propaganda posters, at least here. But let's keep going. Tavarish. So this AK poster, I don't know if you can really see it well. This might be what he was talking about. Of course, there's also the VSS. Now, I can't be 100% here and tell you absolutely that these posters don't show up anywhere else. They could very well be in Yaniv, however you want to call it, or somewhere else, the bar, for example. But they don't really look familiar to me. However, I could be wrong.